and violence now, with even mosques being attacked. Now, how's that likely to go down with the pro-military camp? Is that going to make people to sit and think about, how you express yourself towards the anti-military camp, however much you might dislike them if they're inside places of worship?
Not quite, Sami, because let me first update you by the most recent statement that appears to have been issued by the military spokesman, Colonel Ahmed Ali, issuing a brief but telling statement saying, to the great Egyptian people, a salute, a thank you from the armed forces. Now, you're asking me how the pro-military camp will continue to see any attacks targeting supporters of the deposed president. We have to remember, Sami, there is a very specific reason why we are seeing all of these people coming out in support of the military, responding or heeding the call by Defense Minister Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Just take a look at the political scene in Egypt over the past 30 years or even over the past 2 years since the revolution. As ordinary citizens, not politicians, look at the political scene, all they see is disarray. They see an opposition that has been completely fractured, that has failed to provide a viable candidate to stand up to the very organized Islamic parties. They see the Muslim Brotherhood with accusations from many in the population, from the opposition, saying that they have been trying to dominate the political scene alone. In this fractured scene between different rival political groups, there was always only one political institution that appeared to the ordinary citizen as a consistent and organized institution, that being the institution of the army, of the military, a highly revered institution for among ordinary citizens, no matter how much the activists accuse it of human rights violations. So as we continue to see instability on the streets, in fact, if anything, that is likely to turn people more who are supporting the military to the military institution as the remaining only safety valve for bringing any sense of stability to the country, because all along it has remained the only stable institution in the country. Sami?
Well, I'm wondering, that may be the public sentiment. What about the sentiment amongst some of the secular and liberal political parties which were very much against the military, very much against the constitution before, on the grounds that it was written in a very short period of time, on the grounds that too much power was being given to the military, that they were not 100% under civilian oversight. And when you look into where the roadmap is going, those concerns are still there, if not worse. What is the reasoning and the rationale from some of the secular and liberal parties to give support to an increasing amount of power being given to the military at this point in time?
Well, I'm certainly no apologist for giving any amount of power to the military, Sami, but from the perspective of these opposition or one-time opposition parties like the National Salvation Front, like other youth movements, they perceived it as the only remaining strategic choice that they had left to oust a political faction that they perceive had been trying to completely dominate the political scene. They tried and tried, according to them, to reason with the Muslim Brotherhood. They even made a pact with the Muslim Brotherhood in supporting its candidate Mohammed Morsi against the Mubarak's last Prime Minister Ahmed Shafi in the elections. Remember, that was a very strategic alliance that certain liberal and secular and leftist groups made to ally themselves with Mohammed Morsi in the second round of the presidential elections, to put him forward, to vote for him against the candidate Ahmed Shafi. They feel that after making that alliance, the Muslim Brotherhood backed out on certain promises, backed out on including them in the political process, and perceived going down or proceeded to go down a route that was certainly going to push forward the ideology of Islamic parties and a non-inclusive ideology. Given that position, they say they had no other choice but allying themselves with the military to push out the Muslim Brotherhood from rule. It's certainly a very tough choice that they had to make. It contradicts some of the principles that they had been fighting for, but they believe that they will continue to try and work from within the establishment. Now, particularly people like Mohammed al-Baradei, of course, was a very important public figure, and the idea that he's putting himself in this position is obviously raising a lot of questions, but they genuinely believe that they can work from within the establishment to try to rein in any attempts to go down the route of military rule. Sami?
Right.